for the blues. This is a statue of Stevie Ray Vaughan in Austin, Texas, and it was vandalized, oh my God, and wasn't the first time. It's been vandalized before. It is public property of interest. But this is during the recent protests. It doesn't say BLM, so maybe it wasn't black protesters. It says FTP, which is not file transfer protocol. It means fuck the police, which has, there's a variety to the constituency that would subscribe to that sentiment. And so, but in my analysis, I would think it was just some white punk who wanted to piss off his dad. But who is Stevie Ray Vaughan? Popular musician, entertainer, whose career was cut short by a tragic accident, but during his time he was a guitar hero for his era, meaning that he inspired a lot of people to pick up the electric guitar and to buy them, and his music was blues rock. He was a master stylist. He had something very personal. He was charismatic, virtuoso. Soulful singer. He didn't compose a whole lot. He wasn't an innovator or original. I mean, his material was not that diverse. He was mostly, he was influenced by like Hendrix and Albert King, and Hendrix is playing Albert King too. In fact, all of Hendrix's contemporaries were playing Albert King licks, and all of Stevie Ray Vaughan's contemporaries were playing Albert King licks, and all the people that have been influenced by Stevie Ray Vaughan are playing copies of Albert King licks, which begs the question, how come that's not a statue of Albert King? And I'm gonna bring in Miles for that one. Now I'm going to be more succinct and to the point with the personal anecdote. Before a lot of you ever even heard of Stevie Ray Vaughan, some of us were out there playing the blues, actually getting paid for it, because we were into the blues since we were kids. The time was like, punk and new wave had kind of like blown a hole in the music scene, which had been dominated by like classic rock and disco and southern rock and what we now call yacht rock. So there was room for something more raw and simpler, which would be the authentic blues we were trying to revive. And I wanted to be Hound Dog Taylor. I mean, I gave myself a name, Bonefish Johnny, same amount of syllables. Tried to look like him, and I wasn't alone. We were hardcore, dedicated to the blues, because there was no existing blues scene that much. We were trying to put it together. We were trying to turn everything into our blues club. We were trying to turn people onto the blues, and we were trying to get a blues scene going. In my own case, I wanted to be more than Hound Dog Taylor. I wanted to also be, George Clinton and Bob Marley and Elvis and whatever. But the blues was happening, and I was fortunate to be able to, rub shoulders with, hang out, even perform with older men and women of color who had been playing the blues and singing the blues for a long time. They're professionals at it. In the vernacular, we would say they were the real deal. And In my youthful arrogance, I considered myself a peer. They played the blues, I played the blues. They rocked the house, I rocked the house. I was new and I was white, but I'm paying my dues hard. I'm living the life. I'm dedicated to it. So I'm sitting at the bar with this old guy. I'm buying him drinks, out of respect, admiration, enthusiasm. And I'm matching him shot for shot. And we're getting lit. We're getting tight. And I don't know if it was a response to something I said, but then he dropped this on me. He said, I ain't getting that many gigs anymore because you out there playing my music. When you out there playing my music to white people, what do they need me for? The only reason I'm there is to play my music. If it weren't for my music, they wouldn't want my black ass anywhere around there. And now they get to liking you playing my music. They don't like the way I play my music anymore. And I'm not getting gigs. Let's summarize it. He said, you're stealing my shit and you're ruining it in the process. I can imagine quite easily nowadays a young white blues person saying to an old black person and saying, oh man, you're just bitter. You don't own the music, man. Yeah, it was started by black people, but now it belongs to everybody. White people can play the blues. Look at Stevie Ray Vaughan. He's the best and he's white. Maybe you're not getting gigs because you're not that good. You're just bitter. See, I would have never broke it down like that. I didn't have that sense of entitlement. I don't have it now. I think I said oh no, man, we're completely different styles. In my heart, I knew I had an instant reckoning. And I realized to myself, I'm going to be taking a lot of gigs from a lot of people. I'm going to be stealing a lot of things. I'm stealing a lot of things already. I'm stealing everything that ain't nailed down. 'Cause I can? Should I? Too late. I'm doing it. This is my life. This is my art. I'll tell you one thing I knew right then. If I'm going to be stealing this man's music, or if he's going to feel that way, I better come correct. I better know my song well before I start singing it. I should show some fucking respect. That was almost 40 years ago. What's happening now? In these times, what would the reckoning be on that? Here's another anecdote. I meet this girl, a woman of color. We're hitting it off. We're talking about music. I mentioned the blues. She says, oh, I like the blues, which caught me by surprise because a lot of people of color, they could take it or leave it. She says, yeah, I listen to Bessie Smith all the time, and I saw Alberta Hunter live. I really liked it, And I'm thinking, okay, cool. She's into the blues. And we started dating, and she saw my band, and she knew my music. She didn't have to love it. You don't have to love my music to love me. At one point, I mentioned that I got a write-up or something in a blues magazine or a blues website, and she goes, oh, I'd like to read it. Send me a link. So I'm going, oh, brother, because she doesn't know anything about the blues scene, blues festivals, the blues cruises, the International Blues Challenge or the Blues Foundation. She doesn't know anything about that. So I sent it to her. 5 minutes later, she's texting me, what the hell's this Watermelon Slim? I don't know. I go look. And yeah, it's a guy who calls himself Watermelon Slim. He's a white guy playing the blues called Watermelon Slim. What do I have to say? Anyway, she was taken aback. Were anyone to, investigate a little deeper, they would notice, like, it's not very diverse. There's no black people on the board of the Blues Foundation. There's not a whole lot of black artists at the clubs or the festival. I mean, but are there black blues artists? Well, as a matter of fact, there are, and there's a lot of them, but not that many. They could be there. It's a conscious choice to not do it. You got a whole lot of people that want to be rock stars playing rock music. And the whole thing is not led by black people, not reflective of black people, very clueless about black things. It's disconnected. So the blues scene, I think, could be fixed with a little consciousness. But you're thinking, why isn't it that in the first place? I got an email from the Blues Foundation, talking about George Floyd and racism. It came like 2 weeks into it. My auto insurance company beat them to it. And, my cable company could say Black Lives Matter, but the Blues Foundation couldn't say it. And you go, it's the blues, they should be the blackest thing out there. Black Lives Matter should not even be controversial. What's the problem? Why won't blues artists even say it? Because they're afraid. What's going on? And that's what this whole 100-hour-long video is about. I want to tell you about what I'm going to call the Lee Atwater blues. Yeah, named for Lee Atwater, who was the infamous political strategist. He started out with Strom Thurmond, but he went on to perfect the Southern strategy for Ronald Reagan and George Herbert Walker Bush. And I think he was the chairman of the Republican Party. He was the author of the notorious Willie Horton ad. He was the maestro of the dog whistle. He invented whataboutism. He was one of the architects of the whole racist undercurrent that would become so important in conservative and right-wing politics. And he was a blues fan. He was a blues artist. He played blues guitar. You could almost imagine his quest for power, even along the dark side, was so that someday he might be afforded the possibility of jamming with B.B. King. He ended up doing that. He ended up making an album, Red, White, and Blues, with B.B. King on it and other artists. And you know what? He's better than some of you people out there. Meanwhile, he's white supremacist number one. How can that be? I want to just illustrate to you Lee Atwater blues, okay? This right here is Little Walter album, one of my earliest blues albums. I had this like, 8th grade or something. Came out in 69. I guess I got it in 70, 71. I can't tell you how many long I looked in those bloodshot eyes. But check out right here. See that? See that? It's a big scar on Little Walter's head. That's where a cop went upside his head with the billy club. I think the issue was he was just standing around being black or something. Maybe he got uppity, I don't know. See, look at that. See that? That's Little Walter, Marion Jacobs. He was profiled. Little Walter is a victim of police brutality. Little Walter's a black man, victim of police brutality. Now, Lee Atwater Blues doesn't relate to Little Walter. He doesn't relate Little Walter to other black men who are, or black people that are victims of police brutality. They're more like this. They've got the exact same microphone, see, and they hold their hands just like that, and it goes down to the exact same amp, and they're probably wearing the same outfit, and they're playing all these songs exactly the same way. You know, but black people's a victim of police brutality. This is how it is. Lee Atwater blues, if they were to confront the little Walter as a black man victim of police brutality, they would say, well, did you deserve it, little Walter? I mean, what were you doing to deserve it? I mean, when a cop tells you to do something, you do it. You know, this loss of respect for the police is just your own, you know. I mean, forget about police brutality, little Walter. What about, you know, what's happening in Chicago? Black on black crime right there in Chicago. It was like 10 people were shot last night, little Walter. I mean, everyone's trying to do everything, but I mean, guys are gonna have to do something on your own. I mean, you need to stop your culture of violence, little Walter. You need to have a 2-parent home. You need to do this and do that because it's all your fault. I guess I'm saying that you're inferior. How in the possible could this guy not understand this guy? They don't see him as black. They see him as...
Not black, I mean, let me explain myself. They're not really black. I mean, they're black, but they're not really black. They're more than black. It's different.
It's different?
Yeah, to me, it's different.
The Lee Atwater blues is no blues at all. The worst thing about Lee Atwater blues is that it's no good. Because if you don't feel nothing for black people, you'll never get the blues, man. You'll never be able to play it. It's always gonna suck. Lee Atwater blues sucks. And the blues scene, so much of the music sucks because of that. The blues scene needs the leadership of black people. You can't be a racist and play the blues. You can't be ignorant and play the blues. If you don't feel real empathy for black people who aren't playing the blues right now, you're never gonna get it. Your music's gonna suck. Leave it alone. Don't call it blues. Don't try. Stop doing it. I owe it. We owe it to end racism. Black Lives Matter. And the blues matters.